Petition 1763 on Make the Scottish Police Federation comply with FOI legislation lodged by Robert Brown. This petition calls on the Scottish Parliament to urge the Scottish Government to make the Scottish Police Federation comply with the Freedom of Information Scotland Act 2002. Our briefing explains that broadly, freedom of information requirements apply to public authorities, such as governments, councils and health boards. Police Scotland is subject to the requirements of the Freedom of Information Scotland Act 2002. The Scottish Police Federation is not. As police officers are prohibited from joining trade unions, the Scottish Police Federation was created as a staff association with responsibility for the welfare and efficiency of police officers. Trade unions are not covered by Freedom of Information legislation. It could be argued that the Scottish Police Federation is akin to a trade union and therefore should not be covered by Freedom of Information requirements. The Scottish Police Federation, however, was established by legislation and therefore could also be argued to have some similarities with public bodies. The Police Federation in England and Wales is required to comply with Freedom of Information legislation as a result of changes to the law in 2017. The Scottish Government stated in July 2019 that it has no plans to make the Scottish Police Federation subject to Freedom of Information legislation. Elaine Smith, MSP, has noted her support for this petition, advising, quote, "I have realised that the Scottish Police Federation appears to be totally self-governing and does not conform to the standards set for England and Wales federations." I wonder if members have any comments or suggestions for action.
Yeah, I think that the petition obviously has real merit, especially under the auspices that down in England and Wales. They've already gone down this route. But I think from this petition, from this committee's perspective, the government have already indicated that they have no intention of changing their position on this. So frustrating as it will be both to the petitioner and to us to be able to investigate this, knowing where the government are in this, I don't know if there's anything we can particularly do with this to push this one forward.
My view on this is I don't think trade unions should come within the remit or should be caught by Freedom of Information legislation. Police are not allowed to have a trade union, and the only way they can have a staff association is through legislation. Is it fair that what is effectively a trade union for the police be brought under different legislation from other trade unions? I mean, it is unique. Well, there may be other. I think it is unique. And my own feeling is that logically, if I perceive it as a trade union, unless I'm arguing that all trade unions should be in the same place, I don't see why they should be picked out. They don't have any choice. They're not allowed to set up a trade union under different legislation.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. The whole thing's really interesting because obviously the instance down south around that whole pleb gate scenario that have brought the police down there under the auspices of FOIs. I think it's really interesting to have a look at this. But again, I go back to the fact is the government have been quite firm in the fact that they have no intention of moving down that route. So I'm not quite sure what we can do with this, convener.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think that the question is preserve of. I mean, obviously, release of any FOI information is entirely in the jurisdiction of the body that's being requested to release the information, and there's valid reasons why it can't be released. I know that, but I think there's some sort of parity. But I think maybe we should go back and question the Scottish Government and just double check that they're still of that view.
Well, I think it wasn't in the programme for government. They said it in July 2019, so we know what the answer is going to be. So the only question is, all we're doing is deferring a decision about whether we think this is something we would want to explore further. My feeling is that I don't think the case has been made why this quasi-trade union, unless we're arguing that trade unions should have freedom, should be subject to freedom of information, which I would argue they shouldn't be, that why would we be inconsistent? I think there's particular circumstances that have led to that in England and Wales. My sense is that that's not an issue here.
Yeah, I agree. I think the government have made it quite clear what their policy is, and it's not going to change. So, I agree with Brian. I don't think that there's anywhere else that we can really, as a committee, we can take it anywhere.
I think I just wanted to sort of devil's advocate on this one, because I think it's something that needs to be, seriously thought. But I understand that. I mean, it's set up for the reasons it was set up, and as an association, I understand that.
Okay, I think the petition has highlighted different circumstances between England, Wales and Scotland, which has given us obviously an opportunity to reflect on this. But I think my sense is from the committee that there isn't a pressure for this change in Scotland. And for certain myself, I'm not sure if I would... it would require a broader discussion about how then would a staff association inside the police operate if they're not to operate like a trade union. And I don't think the case has been made for that. So my sense is we're agreeing that we would close the petition under Rule 15.7 of Standing Orders on the basis that the Scottish Government has confirmed, and very recently, that it has no plans to make the Scottish Police Federation subject to freedom of information legislation. Is that agreed?
Agreed.